This story nagged me a lot, and it had been nagging me for a decade that I had to write it and I wanted to write it. It's a sort of an epic story. It begins in Cornwall and it travels into Rangoon, and then the main part of the story is set in southern India. This story is important to me personally because I've borrowed from my two grandfathers. And I'd always wondered about these two men. As I grew up around the family stories, around our dinner table, no one knew much about them because they both died very young. And the family didn't know a lot about them. And so it always intrigued me. And I suppose it took a writer in the midst of all of this to see the potential for a story. And so it felt important that I also write it before all of these people who told me these stories, before they all passed on and couldn't enjoy the benefit that somebody had sat down and recorded a part of their life. So all of that's wrapped up in it, a bit of my own background of being Anglo-Indian and finally writing this story that's been niggling for a long time. October 1919. Despite the biting wind of a Cornish late autumn morning, Jack Bryant felt the grip of a much deeper chill. It had found its way beneath his heavy jacket, through his second-best shirt, and was now crawling up his back as he was roughly shoved into the granite hut on the rise overlooking the small town of Newlyn. Because it travels over so many continents, it needed a lot of research, and because it's set in the 1920s, you can't just wing it or, get all of your information through the internet. So I found myself striding across the cliff tops of Cornwall, going down tin mines in Cornwall, not the most glamorous of research, but certainly very enlightening and quite poignant in a way that I began to really appreciate what the tin miners were up against and the kind of conditions they did work in. And I mean, I was looking at a mine from the 1920s. I can't imagine what they were like in the 1800s, Then I had to go to India and make sure that I knew the Indian component of the story that I'm writing. It was just the best thing I ever did. The book is so much richer for that effort. Tasting the food, looking at the women in their beautiful saris, walking through markets, meeting the family that I didn't know I had, which was probably the most extraordinary part of it. Hugging people who I didn't know existed and didn't know I existed, and realising we're bound in blood. It was just an extraordinary time. And so that was very important to the book as well, to spend that time and to understand totally what I was going to write about. Come. Give me the book. Give me the book. There is one person who's been a mentor for me. He's been very important in sort of tipping me over the edge into the abyss that writing can become, and that's Bryce Courtney. I mean, he gave me the confidence and the belief in myself. So that course in Hobart that I did with Bryce, it was a summer fiction writing course, he made it all seem so easy. It was almost as if, what has taken you so long, Fiona, to get to this point? This is the Jane Franklin Hall, and the exact classroom where it all began for me. It's bringing back a flood of brilliant memories, actually. Bryce walked in through that door, and the room fell silent. There were 15 of us in here. And from then on, it all became, I don't want to say a blur, but everything else about my life sort of misted away. And I was left with just this amazing experience that was going on. This is the exact spot where I stood with Bryce right next to me. And he just put his arm around me and we both mugged for the camera. There were people sitting around us. And I've got this snap of us grinning into the camera, which I was sent and I've kept for the last 10 years, and it's on my desk and I look at it every single day. It's really precious. I love it. The power of one is there. Everything that he told me is true, and if you really want to follow a dream, no one can stand in your way. Everything said, don't rock the boat. And I rocked the boat massively, I walked in and said, that's it. I don't want to do this travel lark anymore. I want to write books. And it didn't just affect me, it affected everybody. That's the best feeling of all, I think, to know that you were proven correct, to follow your instincts. And I think I would tell anybody the same thing, if follow your instincts. They're usually on the mark.